Good evening, you're watching Estuary News, I'm Hugh Riches, and the headlines tonight: new figures show a homelessness crisis across our region this Christmas, an historic Hull building is saved from demolition, and honouring a great swimmer from Grimsby. And later in tonight's programme, I'll be talking to Fern Dawson about opening the doors at Lincoln Cathedral, and before that, Councillor Sheila Bibb on the unsung heroes of West Lindsey. A new report by the housing charity Shelter has revealed that over 700 children in our region will be homeless over Christmas. Children across Yorkshire and the Humber are set to wake up homeless and in temporary accommodation on Christmas Day as child homelessness reaches a 10-year high. The charity says the housing crisis is to blame. An average of 6 families per day are becoming homeless in our area. The oldest winner of the Turner Prize has been announced. 63-year-old Zanzibar-born Lubaina Himid was crowned the winner at an awards ceremony in Hull Minster last night. She's also the first black woman to win the prize. She won £25,000 for her work, which challenges, she says, racism and colonial history. Himid said being part of the prize has been magnificent. Plans to demolish an iconic building at the heart of Hull's fishing community have today been declined. Councillors at Hull City Council unanimously rejected the plans to demolish the former Lord Line building and Grade 2 listed hydraulic pump house and tower. Owners, Manor Properties, previously said it posed a risk to public safety, but the council says there's no evidence the buildings are unsafe and demolition is unnecessary.
So this is about, it's really a historical landmark decision to preserve the last fragments of Hull's once mighty deep-sea fishing industry. And those fragments are the very distinctive Lord Line, which as you come into the city, it's probably one of the most famous buildings in the city, and the associated listed pump house, the only original dockside building left on St Andrew's Dock back when it was created back in the 1880s.
We've managed to retain one of the most important, if not the most important iconic landmark of our once thriving industry. So yeah, we like I said, we just need that break for somebody to come down and say, you know what, we are interested, let's do X, Y and Z, let's leave a legacy, catapulting off the success of City of Culture. Let's move forward and let's showcase what there is there in that area.
The clear message today is let's not get ourselves in this position again on this site. We do need to get together. We need to secure those 2 buildings. And again, the council has made very clear recommendations and instructed their officers to actually to secure these buildings. And again, from that, look at how we can get that site sympathetically regenerated with a restored Lord Line building and pump house, and perhaps some of the Dockland artefacts as well, the lines of the walls, what we call the outer bullnose and the original lock basin brought back into use, perhaps for heritage purposes, and that's really now the next stage of where we have to go.
Hull Royal Infirmary's A&E department is struggling to cope after a surge in patients over the last 2 days. 824 patients have visited the trust since Monday. The normal daily average is around 330. Frontline doctors are appealing to the public to use A&E only in genuine emergencies, as over 200 people waited more than 4 hours to be treated. Ambulance crews had to wait 90 minutes to deliver their patients. A blue plaque has been unveiled today in honour of an Olympic swimmer. Brenda Fisher broke the women's world record for swimming the English Channel in August 1951. She learned to swim at the age of 9, practising in Alexandra Dock in Grimsby. A Grimsby Cleethorpes District Civic Society blue plaque is now at the Fishing Heritage Centre to mark her amazing swimming achievements. Brenda says she's delighted with the honour.
Oh, it's such an honour, and it's such a beautiful plaque up on that wall that everybody can see. It is great pleasure for me. I've had so many, freedom of the town, so many. And since Lucy wrote the book about all my life in swimming, I've had so many honours. It's beautiful. Well, I think it came from the school days, when we used to go to Mablethorpe each holiday and swimming in the sea there, my brother and sister. I think that's really where it started. And then we got a trainer. Mother said if you're going to swim, you have to swim properly. So we got Mr. Mac, and he was with me from 9 years old to when I finished swimming.
I actually wrote to the Chief Exec to give her the freedom of the borough. That went through full council, and it was such an honour to speak about her and her history and her background, and she was given the freedom. And I thought that was brilliant. But then when the idea was put forward about giving her a blue plaque, I thought, wow, this sounds really great. And at one point, they were trying to think where to put it. I suggested here, because I felt, one, it's where all the community came to obviously look around the museum, and also the fact she swam in the Alexandra Dock. And she did all her training here, so what a better place than near to the river or where she swam. Plus, the other part of it was, her father was a skipper, and she's got the love of fishing. I thought, what a great place. Not only is it near to where she swam, father was a fisherman. What a better place than civics, to have a civic done here at the Heritage Centre.
It's such a lovely thing to have all these remembrances, and at my age, 90, it is really an honour.
Lincoln's High Street improvements are to be completed in time for the Lincoln Christmas Market this year. The £800,000 scheme has included the pedestrianised area of Lincoln's High Street, paved in natural stone with new seating and signage. The Christmas market runs from Thursday until Sunday. Peter Pan has been flying beyond Neverland today by climbing the Humber Bridge. The actor who plays him, John Laby, is starring in this year's pantomime at the Hull New Theatre. He visited the bridge to overcome his fear of heights and says it was an exhilarating experience.
I've had a thing with heights most of my life, I'm not going to lie. As a kid, I was the worst. I remember actually doing Peter Pan, and I was playing either John or Michael, I can't quite remember. And they put me in the harness and my feet came off the stage and I instantly started screaming. So to find out that not only will I be flying again in Peter Pan, but that I'd be coming to Yorkshire's finest bridge was daunting, but I gave it a go and I had an incredible time. It's stunning up there, I loved it. I want to go back.
Unsung superstars across West Lindsey are to be recognised for the role they play in the community. I'm joined now by Councillor Sheila Bibb to tell me how people can nominate their chosen superstars. Sheila, welcome. Thank you very much for coming in.
Thank you very much.
Now, first of all, this is a long process because the decisions are going to be made quite well into next year.
Yes, we're hopefully really getting ourselves organised this year, and nominations will not close until March the 16th, which does seem a long way off, but with Christmas coming up and the new year, we'll soon be into that period of time. And so we're asking people to start thinking now about people they'd like to nominate.
OK, and if people do want to make nominations, how should they do it?
If they go to the West Lindsey website, they will find directions there, or they can call the council offices, get in touch with their local councillor, and they will also help them to access the nomination forms. We do have specific nomination forms, but they are readily available online.
And what sort of superstars are we talking about here? What kind of activities are you hoping to recognise?
Basically, who we're looking for, those people who really are the unsung heroes in our society, the people who always provide the cakes at the bake sale, the people who raise money for other charities and often get overlooked, as well as those people who actually have a more formal role, people who act in a voluntary service or parish council, something like that. So people who keep our society going, basically.
You mentioned parish councils there, but you've got, and that of course is an unpaid role and very, very valuable role often in communities. But you've got a number of categories, haven't you? There's a set number of awards and a set number of categories.
Yes, so there's Parish Council of the Year, Parish Councillor of the Year, there's the District Champion of the Year, the Citizen of the Year. I'm probably going to forget some of them, right. But we do have a new category this year, which I'd really like to mention for a moment, and that's the Youth Citizen of the Year. Because what we've found has happened is that we don't get that many nominations for the younger people in our society, and yet many of them out there are really doing a great deal for the people around them, and we really want to recognise that.
A lot of surprisingly large number of young people looking after their own families.
Exactly, yes, and those are exactly the sort of people we'd be looking out for.
Now, you're going to, nominations close in March. Mm-hmm. Who will be selecting? Who will be judging?
We have independent judges, so it's not down to me.
Right.
You know, I'm sure
you'd make a very wise decision.
But no, there are an independent panel of judges who've had nothing to do with the organisation of it or anything else. And so they have a set criteria list and they will go through and mark accordingly.
And the winners, as it were, I know it's not really a competition, but those being recognised, as it were.
Yes.
There'll be some sort of ceremony?
There will be on the 23rd of April, so St George's Day, good time. And that will be held at Hemswell Court, which is right in the centre of West Lindsey. And we will have a very pleasant awards evening there where all those who've been nominated and their families will be invited to join us.
And very well deserved as well. Very quickly, just before I let you go, there's a connection with the Mayflower and that anniversary coming up in a few years' time.
There is indeed, yes. West Lindsey was a home of many of the dissenters who, as you and I know, first went to Holland, and some of them then went on to America on the Mayflower. And so we are building up to that over the next couple of years.
And they're the ones who caused all the trouble. It's their fault, Sheila.
Yes,
thank you. Thank you very much for coming in.
Thank you.
Join me after the break. Jack will bring us a roundup of all the latest sports news, and I'll be talking to Fern Dawson about Christmas at the Old Deanery in Lincoln. Welcome back. You're watching Estuary News. Still to come tonight, Jack brings us a roundup of all the latest sporting action, and I'll be talking to Fern Dawson about Christmas at the Old Deanery in Lincoln. A woman has been fined after dumping a shopping trolley near her home in Withensea. Kelly Marie Collins pleaded guilty at Hull Magistrates. The court heard how she paid a teenager £5 to remove the trolley, but didn't check if he was a registered waste carrier. Plastic bags full of household waste and textiles were found in the trolley, which was abandoned on grass in Cherry Tree Avenue. She was ordered to pay nearly £400. And another rubbish story. A paid-for council service will be imposed next year. West Lindsey District Council will be charging householders for the collection of garden waste following a cut in government funding. They're the last local authority in Lincolnshire to charge for the service. The service is currently funded from council tax contributions. The new charge comes into force when fortnightly collections resume in April. A Scunthorpe nurse is to skydive for charity. Karen Wright will be taking on the mission with her son Ben, who will be raising funds for Lindsay Lodge Hospice in Scunthorpe. So far, they've raised £567 from a target of £700. The skydive takes place on the 10th of December at Hibblesdow Airport. There's a rare opportunity to glimpse the inside of Lincoln Cathedral's historic Old Deanery, and I'm joined now by Fern Dawson from the Cathedral to tell me about the doors opening on the Deanery. Fern, welcome.
Yes.
Thank you very much for coming in.
Problem.
First of all, has somebody told the Dean?
Yes. The Dean doesn't actually live in this building, that's why it's the Old Deanery. So this building has been empty actually for about 3 years now. It was formerly Lincoln Minster School, and then previous to that it was actually the Deanery.
If it was a big enough building to be a school, then the Dean presumably lived in some state.
Yes, quite a lot of the residentiary canons had servants in their house as well, so they're all quite large buildings, which is brilliant for us because we're looking to convert the Deanery into our new visitor centre.
We'll come back to its past in a moment or so, but first of all, it's today, or when does it open? When are you letting people see it as it is now?
On Friday and Saturday, as part of Lincoln Christmas Market, we're opening the doors, as you said, and we're doing a medieval Christmas. So they'll be able to see what is now a Victorian Deanery, but they'll also be able to see the medieval Deanery through 3D augmented reality as well.
Those are the sort of goggle things you put on.
Yes.
I don't like them at all.
Oh, it's fascinating. You can literally stand in the courtyard, have a look all the way around. You can see the cathedral in there as well. It's time travel.
All right, you're selling it very well. Now this is all happening. It's having a last look, as it were, as it is now, because
yes.
you're putting something a bit more exciting in there.
Yes, so in 2020, the Deanery and a new building will be opened as the new visitor centre for the cathedral. So there'll be cafe space, exhibition space, a new education suite as well, and community rooms. So this is the last opportunity to see it before it's unveiled in 2020.
Okay, it already has a little shop, doesn't it? Quite a big shop, the cathedral. Is that going to be changed?
Yes, that will be moving into the new part of the building, so that will be attached to the Deanery.
Right, so that's all just shifting over?
Yes, yes.
Okay, now, it's a big complex, the cathedral. It's not just, I'm not quite sure, you have to show me. I know Lincoln Cathedral quite well. I've made a documentary about it, in fact. Whereabouts is the Deanery?
If you go through the back end of the cloisters,
Yep.
so near where the cafe is, if you go through there, it's directly in front of you. That actually leads straight into the cathedral.
Okay, so if you you turn left for the chapter house, but you keep going on and
Yes.
turn right rather for chapter, you keep going on.
Yeah, and you keep going on through that door, and you'll be straight at the Old Deanery.
Now, tell us a bit about this building. As you mentioned, you're going to show it what it's like to be a medieval dean and live in state like a medieval dean. And the dean, I would imagine, of Lincoln Cathedral in the Middle Ages was an extremely rich and extremely powerful man.
Yes, it would have been. So he had a large estate. So obviously the cathedral itself owns a lot of properties around the cathedral as well. But it is a very stately building. And the medieval deanery had its own tower. So it's the Wolseley Tower that used to link up to the medieval library as well. So it was a really grand structure. There were stables. They had its own brew house as well.
Oh, how lovely to live in a home with its own brew house.
Yes. So it was a really lovely complex of buildings.
You mentioned the library there, and that's, of course, built by Christopher Wren.
It is, yes, and that will be open over the Christmas market as well.
The present deanery, though, however, whatever show you're going to put on through your goggles, the present deanery is a bit more modern.
Not terribly modern. It was originally Catherine Swynford's house, so we're still in the medieval period.
Catherine Swynford being the mistress and then the wife of John of Gaunt,
yes,
son of Edward III. This is the late 14th century.
Yes. So still a relatively older building, but that one, unfortunately, is, as I said, in the Dean's house. So this is an opportunity to actually see one of the buildings in the close, which not many people get to see.
Right,
so in the Old Deanery.
But there's a Victorian anyway, early-ish 19th century aspect to it as well.
Yeah, the building we currently have is 1847. And it's Scottish baronial building, which is unusual for Lincoln.
Scottish baronial?
Yes.
For Lincoln Cathedral?
Yep, we like to mix the styles a little bit.
The Victorians, weren't they? They really were.
But they did make a wonderful folly of the medieval deanery, so you can actually see remnants of that building all over the deanery and along Eastgate Wall as well. So the public will actually be able to see that as well.
So where's the dean moving to?
Well,
presumably, I know it's a lady, isn't it? But at the moment, the Dean of Lincoln. Where's
she has her own separate house.
In the close.
No, thankfully not. No, the Dean has a separate house on the close.
Now, I remember when I was making this documentary, you'll have to forgive me for not being very well informed about church hierarchies, because my history sort of stops at the end of the Middle Ages. I was told off for thinking that the bishop really owns the cathedral or runs the cathedral. That's not. I was a lot of scorn for that. The dean is the chief clergy, the representative of the clergy at the cathedral.
Yeah, and that's why the Old Deanery is so important. I mean, it is right next door to the cathedral. There's direct access through to the centre of the cathedral as well,
right,
via the Dean's door, which is the Dean's Eye window above it.
Of course, the beautiful Dean's Eye, yes.
So again, people will be able to see the whole north side of the cathedral, which is normally completely hidden from public view. So
okay. So that's this Friday and Saturday that people can come and see it as it is now?
From 10 till 4:30 we're open till.
When will the refurbishment be finished, do you think?
That will be early 2020.
Oh, really? So it's a two-year project. Fern, thank you so much for coming in. I was wondering if I was going to approve of changing ancient buildings, but I think this sounds rather exciting.
Oh, it will be.
Thank you very much, Fern.
Thanks
very much. Here's Jack with all the sports.
In football, Scunthorpe United were knocked out of the Checkatrade Trophy last night. The Iron lost 2-1 to Leicester City under-21s at Glanford Park. Goals from George Thomas and Sam Hughes gave the Foxes an early 2-goal lead before the Iron pulled one back through Kevin Van Veen. Leicester fielded a wealth of talent, including £25 million striker Kelechi Iheanacho and Leonardo Ulloa, who was part of the Foxes Premier League winning side in 2016. Scunthorpe manager Graham Alexander said the goals conceded were poor and as a result of their own mistakes. Meanwhile, Hull City have been drawn away to either Blackburn Rovers or Crewe Alexandra in the third round of the FA Cup. Blackburn and Crewe's 3-3 draw at Ewood Park on Sunday means that the Tigers will have to wait to find out who they'll play in the third round. They'll face either League 1 Blackburn or League 2 Crewe on the weekend of Saturday and Sunday, the 6th and 7th of January. In other Hull City news, defender Max Clark has been named in the Championship Team of the Week. The 21-year-old Hull-born player has made 13 appearances in the league this season and has represented his country, England, at both under-16 and under-17 levels. Grimsby Town have met with North East Lincolnshire Council to further progress the club's plans to relocate to Peaks Parkway. If given the go-ahead, the move will see a new community stadium for the club fit for the 21st century. It will consist of other leisure facilities and a number of affordable homes at the Parkway and other locations within the town. The club remains confident the development has every chance of succeeding. In other Mariners news, the club, along with the Mariners Trust, are backing a food bank initiative. Working with the charity Christian Action Resource Enterprise, a number of Trust members will be holding a GTFC fans food bank collection from 1:30 p.m. on Saturday. It will be on the corner of Imperial Avenue in the run-up to the League 2 fixture against Forest Green Rovers at Blundell Park. And that's all for the sport. Back to Hugh in the studio.
Thanks very much, Jack. That's all for tonight. My thanks to Sheila and to Fern. If you've a news story for us or any other reason that you want to contact us, perhaps you have an opinion about the Turner Prize, we'd be fascinated to see that, then you can email news@estuary.tv or phone Grimsby 01472 3155553 as magically displayed beneath me, or you can write to Estuary TV, Nuns Corner, Laceby Road, Grimsby, North East Lincolnshire, DN345BQ. Until tomorrow, from all of us here, thanks very much for watching and good evening.